There's not a whole lot to like about the Colts, but they do have Anthony Richardson, the quarterback out of Florida, drafted number 4 overall. It's him, a couple other guys, and that's about it in Indy.
Well, here's the thing. I think the Indianapolis Colts are the most volatile team in the NFL right now because they have such a high ceiling, but also such a low floor. And a lot of this has to do with their young quarterback and Anthony Richardson, because you see the coaching hire, Shane Steichen coming over from the Eagles, and you look at the situation that he had. He had a great run game, and he had a great running quarterback in Jalen Hurts, who we coached up and made him into one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Yeah. So people are looking at the tools that Anthony Richardson brings to the table. And I'm going to tell you now, Anthony Richardson is bigger, faster, and stronger than Jalen Hurts as a runner. But the question mark comes as a passer, because Jalen Hurts was a much more polished passer before coming to the NFL, had over 1,000 attempts in college before being drafted. Not the same deal with Anthony Richardson. Only threw the ball 399 times at the University of Florida, where he was only a starter for one season. So I think it's going to be a bumpy ride getting to, even the threshold of being a mediocre quarterback for Anthony Richardson. But if they can coach him up, my goodness, this team has the ability to be a really good team, maybe in a few years. But I think the question mark is, how is the start going to go? And I think it's going to be a little rocky, because you do need to have some polish as a passer to succeed in the NFL. But if you combine Anthony Richardson's ability with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, which now is a huge question mark going into training camp, they could have one of the most prolific rush attacks in the NFL, because that's what we saw from that offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. I just think this is not a bet that I would make this season. Could the Colts be good in a few years? Absolutely. But this year, I think it's going to be, beta mode for the first version of this Colts offense.
Would you say that the Colts for the first couple of years are going to be on training wheels, Anthony Richardson, and then he'll take them off and then he can ride freely? Is that the way you would put it?
Yes, even though I am a proponent of keeping the training wheels on, and I don't see the reason for taking them off. But I know we've been really low on this Colts team. But I think there are some things to like. Like I said, the upside for Anthony Richardson is sky high. Also, the defense should be better, because Shaq Leonard was hurt for most of the season last year. He is their best linebacker by a mile, a former Pro Bowler, a former All-Pro. So he was a big hole in that defense. And they have some good pieces on that defensive line, starting with DeForest Buckner, who was an absolute threat to opposing quarterbacks and opposing offensive lines. But still a lot of holes to fill for this Colts team. So I don't think I'm a believer just yet. So how do you bet on teams like this when you feel like there is an opportunity to be good, but they're not quite there?
Honestly, let's just throw this out. Sometimes teams, I think, are just unbettable. There's just not a market for them. What, you want to lay minus 450 on the Colts not making the playoffs? It's probably going to come home, but I'm not laying that kind of juice. There's no value there. You want to bet you can get more than 3-1 back on them making the playoffs? No. This is just a team that needs a couple years. And I think what I find fascinating about the Anthony Richardson experiment, Chelsea, is, again, 13 career starts with the Gators. That's it. That's not a lot of college experience, and he needs a lot of help throwing the ball. Now, is he an incredible athlete? Yes. That's why he was selected. 6'4", 244 pounds, set records at the NFL Combine. But here's my question to you as far as running the ball. This guy can run. He is a superior athlete. But by every single measure, he needs time to develop in the NFL. But you know how it is in the National Football League. Are they going to give him at a minimum, 2 years, probably 3 years, to develop into the quarterback that they want him to be? Because you know how it is. After a couple seasons, if he's struggling, there will be a hankering, there will be a demand for a new quarterback. We're seeing it with Justin Fields in Chicago. Remember, that was the big decision during the offseason, and he was way more developed at this point in his college career than Anthony Richardson. So if you're the Colts and you're playing the long game, you better buckle in, because you got to play the long game.
I don't know. The Mets are just kind of in a place where no matter what they do, I think at the end of the day, they're just going to Met. And it wasn't like they were excelling with them anyway. So I think that what the Mets did, fine. I think that they have a better grasp maybe of than we think of what, I don't know what they're doing. But in terms of the Red Sox, my first reaction was that of many fans where it's like, why? This is embarrassing. This is really sad to think that the Red Sox are doing nothing. Do they not believe in this team? And so that's when you hear Chaim Bloom talking, you're like, okay, they're underdogs. So you have an underdog mentality. By definition, yes, they are underdogs because you look at the odds and they're not as great as other teams. So yeah, they're the underdogs. But then I thought about it, and you look at the team the way it is right now. They are winning games. They just won last night. They are beating teams like the Braves. The vibes of this team are good to the point where I don't mind what happened at this trade deadline. I don't mind that they only made one move, one middle infield move. And the way I think a lot of people don't trust Chaim, but I don't think what they did was that bad. I don't think that because you need a pitcher, like who? And what deal would you make? Maybe the deal wasn't good enough. Maybe the deal wasn't one that would benefit the team. Who would you have to trade? For whom? And I think that people just don't trust Chaim Bloom. And so I think that I'd give it a B+, this trade deadline for the Red Sox, because I think that with the players that are coming back, like Sale, like Trevor Story, I think that Tanner Houck, I feel like they are in a good spot. And I think that this is a playoff team who can win the World Series.
Ooh, snuck that in there. Win the World Series. I don't know about that, but the Red Sox are a game and a half out of the wild card race. They're not out of it. I think it kind of feels that way because the AL East is so good that you see these teams at the top and you're like, wow, the Red Sox are 9 games back of the AL East, but still have a fighting chance in the wild card.
Chelsea, speaking of hoarding, my fiance, who we will talk about, and this segment is not going to be very favorable for him. I promise he's a wonderful man. I love him very much, getting married next weekend. But he is a low-key hoarder as well. And we have stuff everywhere.
Low-key.
Like,
ooh.
Yeah, I say low-key to try and, like, save him a little bit. He might be a legit hoarder. Rally towels, like the sweat towels that they put over your chair at, like, an NBA game in the playoff game?
Yeah.
We have like Giannis's first playoff game rally towel, not the one Giannis used, just the free one that was given out. Gordon Hayward's at Butler. My fiance went to like drawers and drawers of things like this, bobbleheads, little baseballs of like his little league baseball. He has every ID he's ever owned in his entire life. Driver's license, middle school ID. Like, we don't get rid of anything. I silently do when he's not home. See if he notices. I'm like slowly starting to throw things. So I'm with you on the hoarding. I have like this small section of the closet because I don't need all those things. Give me 1-2 pairs of nude shoes, a pair of black shoes. We're good. Don't need to keep any extra little fluff of memorabilia stuff. All the memories up here. That's all we need, right?
Can I say one thing very quickly, because I know Chelsea has some great questions to ask, but does your future husband do something like, hey, this is Austin Reeves's 6th game in the NBA sweat towel, like something totally crazy that really doesn't mean anything?
Yes, Jenks, everything is like that. Everything. Oh, I get so worked up about it. That's the only time we argue is like, you can get rid of Austin Reeves's 6th game towel that he never touched.
Right.
But here's the thing. I feel like sports memorabilia, it's forgivable though. I think if you're collecting like sports memorabilia and you like work in sports, like there's a lane there and I get it. Like, and I can at least see why you would like those things. Like when you collect, stamps or whatever, isn't this the biggest scam that we heard when we were growing up? It's going to be worth something later on.